What is going on, guys? Noah White here again with a tech series video. This video I know for sure is going to be quite long. Don't know if I'm going to be able to cover every single aspect of what I'm about to work on, but pretty much just helping a buddy out of mine. He has this, I think this is a 1996 BMW M3. I think these have, I don't know what motors are in them, S52s maybe, S50s, not sure. I mean, I like BMWs, but I don't know all of them, so please forgive me. But anyway, he put a supercharger kit on this car, like pieced together something, just used stuff, can't get it to run right. Basically, it just warms up, and then as soon as it warms up, it dies. I don't know about any of the tuning of this car. I absolutely know nothing about this car, other than he said, it doesn't work, please fix it. So that's what I'm gonna try and do. It does run, I can't drive. It has been converted to manual, so there are a ton of check engine light codes on. I'm probably going to start there to see what actually is, going on. I don't know about any of the wiring and how to convert these things, so I'm pretty much just going in here straight into the dark. I don't know what to expect, so I do need to just flip it around so I can get the engine facing outward so I can have some light, but I'll go ahead and do that, and see you guys in a minute. Here's what we're working with, which, by the way, my buddy seems to say that this color is extremely rare for these M3s. I think it's called Byzantium Metallic Orange, I think. I don't really know much about that, though. I do know I don't see this color often. I mean, it looks pretty cool. Well, obviously it's pretty clapped. This car's been sitting outside forever. It's got cobwebs all over it, spiders, everything else. But anyway, as you can see, he said he didn't know what kit this was. I have no idea. Like I said, I'm going completely in the dark here. It definitely is a Vortex supercharger, and this car was converted to a manual transmission, but there is just, I mean, this thing's just hanging here. I really don't know what the heck is going on with any of this stuff, so I'm literally just gonna have to start all over, pretty much, is what I don't want to do, but that's what I'm going to have to do. So, got just a little random catch can over here, but I don't know. We'll see, I guess, what we can get into. I did go on ahead and pull the codes, and I went on ahead and wrote them down. There were a total of 11 codes and 1 pending code. There are more codes in the automatic transmission circuit as well, but there's only 4 of those, and they're all related to shift solenoids, which obviously this car doesn't have anymore because it doesn't have an automatic transmission, so not really worried about those. But a lot of these codes are kind of generic codes because I just have a generic scanner, but this 1250 code I'm not entirely sure about. I think it's to do with fuel pressure regulator. A lot of these codes are, obviously all codes that can cause running issues. And like I said, this car is just having a problem with starting, idling. Once it warms up, it kind of just sputters and then it dies. So for this, I know on these E36s and BMWs, there is a vacuum line that runs down to the fuel pressure regulator, which is kind of underneath the car. I'm going to check that. Cam code, I don't know, I just deleted these codes. Hopefully that one doesn't come back. Intake air control, both of these, as well as this PU0505, are to do with intake, or excuse me, not intake, idle air control. And judging on how all of these vacuum lines are ran in this car right now, I bet this thing has a large vacuum leak somewhere. P0101 we have is a MAF code. I don't know what that could be about, unless the MAF is just bad. Fuel control also could be, I don't know, could be bad. O2 sensors And then cylinder 5 misfire. Well, this is really like to do with a coil, so I don't really know. So like I said, I'm just gonna have to start. This is just a mess, but from what I know with these superchargers, you buy them as a kit, right? They should come with everything you need to bolt them on, and then you can also reverse the process. So this shouldn't be too invasive of a job. Problem is when you have all these vacuum lines running all over the place and things not hooked up properly, obviously you're gonna have problems. So I probably am going to start with trying to make sure that this bypass valve is hooked up right, mainly because that, you know, can cause a lot of vacuum issues. Everything looks like it's bolted up right. I'm not going to probably go through and unbolt it all and bolt it on back on. I probably am going to take this off just so I can get down into the idle air control valve and look at that and just try and clean up everything. I don't want to have to pull the intake manifold if I don't have to, so I'm going to try my best to not have to do that. But again, I don't really know about these kits. I do know that they need to be tuned afterward, or the ECM reflash or the DME. So he said he didn't have that done. He does have a bigger set of injectors. These are just running on stock injectors, stock fuel pumps. So yeah, if the car ran fine before, which he said it did, he said it ran fine when he did the auto to manual swap. It ran perfectly fine, didn't die, nothing. The minute he put the supercharger on is when things started going bad. So I don't know, let's just start diving into some stuff and see what we get. All right, I should mention that I am gonna be using a pretty, I don't know, I tried to look up instructions on how to install this kit, and I really don't know if I have the correct ones. I did look at VF Engineering and Vortec Engineering, as well as Active Auto Works, because you know all these centrifugals, they mostly operate the same. I'm gonna try my best to follow, probably gonna follow the VF Engineering one, because I really couldn't find one for Vortec. I mean, if someone has that link or something, please let me know and I'll try and, you know, look at that one as well. But I'm just gonna loosely follow one set of instructions that I found. As I expected, I don't really know what the heck is going on with any of this. I mean, like, I don't even know what the heck is going on at all. Just got a check valve running into nothing, and then this was on top of here like this, and I don't know where any of this goes. I know you're supposed to do something with the back side of these intakes. Like, I think you're supposed to drill out a hole and tap the original air oil separator and remove the air oil separator. Then he has part of it running over to a catch can over there. So pretty sure there's just a big giant vacuum leak at some point. I don't know, I think when he first said he started the car, the oil cap, if you removed it while it was running, would just fly off of the motor. He switched some vacuum stuff around. Now the oil cap just gets sucked down onto the motor. So clearly there's a large vacuum issue going on. So I think I'm gonna try and remove this throttle body. I really don't want to remove the intake manifold. I'm gonna try and remove the throttle body if I can, and try and see what's all going on back there, because there is a lot of vacuum stuff under these manifolds that you can't see, and that's what makes me nervous. I gotta try and follow these instructions and see what's supposed to happen. So man, what a mess this is. So I went on ahead and pulled out the bypass valve and whatever is going on here. I have some of the other stuff sitting over there, the auto body, some couplers. I removed the original automatic throttle, like kickdown cable, because obviously not using that anymore. and I did go on ahead and pull off the throttle body and whatnot and everything else that was connected to it. From what I can tell, he did plug the back of the intake manifold. I can't show you obviously, but I can reach my hand on there and I can actually see that he did. I know I can get rid or chalk up some of the idle control or all the idle control problems because this valve, which just sits up under the intake manifold, just wasn't connected at all. It was just unplugged, so that's actually a good sign. Lets me know that maybe if I plug it back in, it'll work correctly. So happy about that. I do need to actually figure out what, I think this is an evap purge valve, at least that's what it looks like. And in the instructions, I mean, he's got something going on here. I don't know what's going on quite. This runs to the intake manifold, this hose, which should be normal. Normally, evap system will go back into get burned off. So that looks stock. Then he teed it off. Part of it is going to the catch can over there. I don't know why my camera is not focusing correctly, sorry guys. Part of it's going to the catch can over there, and then the other teed off part is going to the bottom of this purge valve, which sure, I mean, I would have honestly just left this hose alone and not even ran that catch can over there, but he did say he removed the air oil separator. In the instructions it says to keep the air oil separator, so I don't know why he took it off, but whatever. It's I should be able to get around not having to run that or use that at the moment. What I think I'm going to do is try and follow the instructions that say put a check valve in between the hose that runs from the bottom of the purge valve, put a check valve from there up into the line that runs to the intake manifold. Basically you would do that so that the purge flow or the exhaust gases only run one direction, and that's into the intake manifold. When you're building boost, just like on the Lexus on the channel, you don't want to introduce boost going backwards through this line because then the fuel vapors will have nowhere to go. So I'm going to actually take off his catch can and then just run a normal check valve, which I'm pretty sure is what this thing, which is supplied with a kit. Pretty sure that's what this was for, I think. If not, I could just go buy one and install one there, which is what I'm going to do, and then I'll go on ahead and try and fix all of this bypass valve, vacuum stuff as best as I can. So the next thing that I'm going to probably confirm, underneath these intake manifolds there are 3 vacuum ports. The one that I just mentioned runs to the evap purge solenoid. There is another one which is this right here, which will run to the I believe it runs to the secondary air system. This guy over here, like there's this little vacuum hose that runs over here to this vacuum hose, which he had teed off, so I don't think I'm going to try and mess with that. What I am going to do is use this one, since it's not going to anything. Well, it was teed off and running off into the bypass valve and everything else. I'm gonna try and simplify all that. I'm gonna use this, I'm gonna tee it off. One side is gonna run to the bypass valve to actuate the bypass valve, and the other side is gonna run back to the secondary air, like check valve over there. That's what I'm gonna use for that purpose, and that was actually being operated by this here valve. So it'll come out of the intake manifold like it is now. It'll run to a T. Part of the T will go into this valve, and then the other bottom of this T, or excuse me, the bottom of this valve will run back to the secondary air like it was. And then the other part of the T coming off will just run to the bypass valve. So I probably made that sound a lot more complicated than it is, but that's what I'm gonna do. And then the last port under here runs to the fuel pressure regulator. So 3 in total. One goes to evap, one goes originally over there to that check valve for the secondary air system, and then the other one runs to the fuel pressure regulator. So I am gonna have to jack the car up. I can feel under here that that hose is still here, and it is running down to where the fuel pressure regulator is. So I just want to confirm that down there, there is vacuum hoses down there, and they do get brittle. I want to confirm that it actually is connected. That way I don't have another vacuum leak somewhere else. But I'm gonna have to run to the store, get a lot of clamps and whatnot. So see you guys in a minute. Alright, I got back from the parts store, got some things I think I'll need, not too sure if it'll work. I just picked up a replacement hose for that. I'm just going to reuse those 2 clamps. I got myself a check valve. I did go on ahead and find a check valve that should work. I'm using this part number right here, 730-1349. I'm using that for the evap line. Remember I told you before I was just going to run the evap line with its own check valve, which is just right in line right there. It's running up into the normal port that it went to and just connected up pretty much stock just with a check valve, so that way that the evap doesn't see any boost pressure. The catch can I completely removed, just sitting over there on the ground for now. For now, I'm just going to run it with the crankcase open to atmosphere. Shouldn't have any effect on driving at all. I know that these German engines are kind of finicky with leaks, quote, like that, but should run long enough. And mainly the issue what we're having is the car would warm up and die. So that's not going to cause the car to die. At least it shouldn't, in my opinion. But got that evap sorted. So I'm going to go ahead and reinstall this IAC valve, idle air control valve. Just gets bolted right back up there with 2 10s. I don't really like how loose the fitting fits into the intake manifold, but I mean that's just kind of how it is from the factory. And I believe this here hose goes into this hose, which sits kind of like right here somewhere. So yeah, I'll just have that reconnected when I get that all back together. But I am going to go ahead and get that installed now, and I don't think I'll have any issues with that. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to go on ahead and remember I did verify that the fuel pressure regulator hose is connected. The vacuum hose is running down under the car and it's attaching itself to the fuel pressure regulator. It looks good to me. There is this one more vacuum hose right here. Remember I was going to tee off of this. Part of it's going to feed the bypass valve and the other part is going to go off into this valve, which then runs around and connects itself to this secondary air check valve. Again, smog is not really an issue at this point. I could probably just leave that disconnected and it'll be fine. But I'm gonna go ahead and try and route that now while I have everything apart, so that way the secondary air system kind of works. I do hear the pump run, but yeah, ultimately that's not really my concern. And if I just left it disconnected, it would be fine and it will run. Of course there'll be a check engine light, but I don't really care about the secondary air system at the moment. But let me go on ahead and get this check valve installed. Again, I'm just going to be using, there is a supply check valve with the kit, which is this one, but when I was trying to blow into it both directions, it was stuck, so it doesn't appear to be working. So I just went on ahead and grabbed a different check valve. It does have 2 different sizes on either side of it, but I don't know, I'll get it to work. So let me get that installed and I'll show you guys what it looks like. All right, I went on ahead and got the T installed from the other vacuum line here, going to the T. Remember I said part of it was going to go up to the bypass valve or diverter valve, if you want to call it that. This, by the way, is just a factory diverter valve for most German cars made by Bosch, like Porsches, BMWs, stuff like that. Anyway, and then it goes into the check valve as per the instructions, which then runs off into like a little tube right here. This little metal tube that runs in front of the motor, and then just comes around to the secondary air check valve there. All of that is hooked up as per factory. The only other port, as I mentioned, is the fuel pressure that's running to the bottom. So now I'm going to go ahead and get the throttle body back on, put all the various, oh no wait, I forgot, I got to put this idle air control valve back on. So let me slap that back on, and then I'll go ahead and put on the rest of the intake tubes and hopefully start this thing up and see if it'll run correctly. All right, I got everything back together. All the charge pipes are back on. Oh wait, I still gotta tighten this clamp up and this clamp, I think. I'll tighten those up in a minute. Like I said, I'm just gonna run with the valve cover, just kind of vent it out like that. I went on ahead and capped this off because I'm pretty sure that that is where the PCV system is supposed to get, you know, drawn air from, right there. But I'm going to cap that off for now, because this whole setup over here that is supposed to work on the PCV system, I don't trust it quite yet. So I'm just trying to make sure that the car will stay running and idling. I'm hoping that the idle air control valve being disconnected was what was actually causing the issue, but I don't know, we'll find out here in a minute when I go ahead and start this thing up. And I didn't change any injectors, I didn't change anything else, just literally cleaned up the vacuum system a little bit, and hopefully that is going to work. So fingers crossed. So far it's idling good. There aren't any check engine lights as of now. I'm just gonna let it idle until it warms up. There aren't any fans on this car, so I can't really let it run for too long. There is coolant in it, but you know, if I let it sit here and idle forever, it'll just overheat. But when I give it throttle and whatnot, it responds and seems okay. So sorry, I apologize. It's gonna be loud out here. Well, that didn't last long. This thing's misfiring a lot. There's no check engine light on currently, but there are still some pending codes coming up. Still the same fuel trim code, fuel control, bank 1, sensor 1 could be bad O2 sensor. Mass airflow, I don't know if the mass airflow sensor is actually bad, or you know, if maybe this thing is just drawing a lot of air through it and it's going out of range, which, you know, if you remember when I work on the IS300, you will get MAF codes because it only can support up to so many pounds of boost. Maybe just at idle that this thing is drawing too much air through it. Idle air control, now I only have one idle air control code. Before I had 3, so now I only had 1. So who knows, it could be a bad valve. And then the camshaft position sensor actually is bad as well. So those are pending codes. Stored codes though, there's only 2 camshaft codes. So obviously that'll cause running issues, and so I don't know, probably have to look into replacing those. I think I'm gonna start with the cam sensors first, then I'll delete the codes again and see if it runs any better. Okay, it is the next day. Sorry this video is kind of just me jumping around, just testing various things, but I did go on ahead and get a new cam sensor installed. And if you guys don't know where those are at on the, this is a S52 motor. The cam sensor is just under this Vanos solenoid, so this actually has a spot to put like a wrench on it. You'll just put I just put an adjustable wrench on here, and you just unscrew this canister. You can actually disconnect the wire first so you don't twist the wire all up. Unscrew that, and then the cam sensor is literally just, I mean, it's just right there. The tip of it is that black, little black portion right there. It's just a cylinder. It's held on by one 5mm Allen bolt, and then it has a pigtail that runs down underneath the manifold. I don't think I'll be able to, maybe I'll be able to get you a picture, a clip of the, no I can't. Anyway, you'll see the clip, the connector is down there. The connector looks just something like this. So anyway, replace the cam sensor. Car is running better. There's no more cam code at all. So there's no pending codes for cams. The only codes that are left now are fuel control, which is a bad O2 sensor, which I verified by looking at the live data. The live data will show a voltage between 1 and 0.000. That's all it can show, and it's currently just stuck at 0.98 volts. That should fluctuate between 1 volt and 0 volt, but it's not fluctuating. So I know for a fact that that O2 sensor is bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace that next. The only other fault I could find was with the coil pack connectors. So let me go on ahead and show you guys what those look like. These, when I pulled out the coil packs and the spark plugs, this is what I found. I mean, this is absolutely terrible. Obviously some water was getting into there. The car had been sitting for like 6 or 7 months or more, and this is what happened. So I pulled out every single one, and even the ones that don't have, you know, rust on them, they're kind of just chewed up. So I went on ahead and got 6 new coil pack boots. I have the same spark plugs that were in there because they were pretty new. There was nothing wrong with them. I just cleaned them up, put new boots on all these. Now there's no more misfire. This car is running way better, and it's actually making a little bit of boost. I don't have a boost gauge, but I can hear the diverter valve opening when I get off throttle. That means I must have made some boost if it's allowing some air to bypass. But yeah, it's definitely running much better than it was. I think I'm gonna go ahead and leave it off here. I mean, there are some codes. He can deal with the rest of them. There's an idle air control valve code, and he needs to replace that O2 sensor. But aside from that, this car is running, driving. It doesn't die anymore like it was, so he'll be pretty excited. So overall, I think we had a pretty successful tech series, if you want to call it that. Hopefully this helps some of you guys that have these supercharged E36s. I mean, obviously I didn't tell you how to put on the whole supercharger, but pretty much just diagnosing some codes, seeing why it was dying. Ultimately, it came down to it misfiring tremendously, and just getting all the vacuum stuff situated, because there was a whole bunch of vacuum lines ran all over the place. And as I mentioned in the video earlier, I did delete the catch can. We can go on ahead and reinstall that. I'll tell him, you know, my buddy, a simple way to reinstall it so that it's functional, because how it was hooked up was just, it was not right. So it was just pulling vacuum in the wrong places, and that was causing it to pretty much run like crap. So now though, we got everything situated. So I know this video is kind of different than usual, as that's what the tech series is about, but I hope you guys found it somewhat entertaining. And if it's your first time on the channel, I appreciate you stopping by. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share the video with your buddies, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.